to me.
Welcome Millwall fans, it's now 9 p.m. For the next 90 minutes, this is your fully interactive Millwall fan show. We analyse the matches, wins, losses. We feel it all together. That Sunday Night Live is your show. We're the panel that speaks the truth. Opinions blaze, debates ignite. This is That Millwall Podcast.
Giddy up and get away. Oh, we're going Millwall. How you going today? Here we go. We're rocking all over the day. And I like it, 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 I like it. We're rocking all over the day.
Good evening, welcome to the debrief on the Sunday night show. We are joined by our usual suspects. Let me just move you over there, or else it confuses the fuck out of me. We are joined by the one and only Stephen. Good evening.
Hello,
sir.
Mickey. I think there's only really one way that we can start this show, and that's with super Neil, and I'm sure the chat can carry that on for us.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's just
It's the best way to start it, mate.
Yeah. And we are joined by Jay. Fourth show. Looks as if you're going to become a regular now. So welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Evening, chaps. Like I said, I'm here till you get bored of me, mate.
No,
So
you're right.
whenever that day comes, you let me know.
No, that's all right, mate. And yeah, we were up late the other night. Decided over the intro and
yeah, I want to know what the chat thinks. Chat, what do you think of the new intro? Me and Mickey were up to 2:30 in the morning. So yeah, I'm interested to see your thoughts on that.
Playing with different clips. What goals do we put in? What ones do we not? Whether or not we have a UK voice or an American voice, that part was down to Stephen. And yeah, we're slowly but surely getting there. So yeah, Omar is running slightly late. The prodigal son will be with us at some point. So yeah, that's all good. So then, gents, like we predicted, really. You said that Mitchell will play a glowing part. We said that Danny Mack will play a glowing part. We said Fleming will do good, and we said we get a win. And yeah, welcome to the Correct Protection Show. I think that's probably the way around it, isn't it, Stephen?
And can I say as well that when I gave my team over and I gave my prediction, watch it back, chat, I predicted a 2-1 Millwall win.
Oh, is it like that now? Is it?
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. We'll come on to the likes of Mitchell.
We're not going to get bored of you. We're just going to bin you for being
annoyed more than
every week.
But no, we'll come on to the likes of Mitchell in the team selection because I think it threw a lot of us off as well. But yeah, in terms of what we thought Harris was going to do,
and the fact that
Denor weren't in, again, the team selection is going to be a big topic, I think. But in terms of how we, as the panel, thought that the game was going to go, how Harris was going to set up, I don't think anybody was surprised from that standpoint. No. And it's just refreshing. I think Stephen said on Twitter earlier that go and check that out. That is the first time in a very long time we've been able to come on and you a lot longer than myself been able to come on and actually discuss a win. So yeah, refreshing times.
So Stephen, you were there on Saturday. It looked and sounded, and the pictures and everything else, what I've seen and whatnot, looked as if it was a proper old school Millwall away day.
It's the best away end we've been in for a long time. I would go as far as to say, and I know it's just a bit of an odd comparison because we beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0, but there was something just special about the getting to the ground, the build up, Harris coming out, he come over to us, the back into the players, and whilst you look, Millwall supporters, we all the same. You just want to see some fight from the team. You know, you might not be the best, but you just want to see some fight. There wasn't really any moaning. The players were backed. Even the likes of, we'll come on to maybe other players, but Obafemi and Longman, who perhaps didn't have their best games. They weren't criticised. They didn't get on their backs. It wasn't a rant at them. They just supported them with everything that they tried to do and everything that Harris tried to do. I said on the show on Friday that all I wanted to do, I wanted to go to games of football. I wanted us to create maybe 3-4 chances, score a couple of them, and be in with a chance of winning the game. And we did exactly that. Yeah, okay. It wasn't the most classic Championship performance, and it wasn't maybe what we're going to see every week, which again we'll come on to. But Harris picked a team for the opponent. He picked tactics for the opponent, and we come away with 3 points. Can't really ask for much more than that.
No, you can't. Just for you, Jay. That comment was on the screen now. Monica, that's Stephen's mum. So don't bully
Monica.
him. Don't bully him, or else
Be easy on me.
yeah, she'll come after you. So
you're already in her bad books, Mickey. So
I'm in everyone's bad books. I don't care, mate. It's what it is. Mike says just shows that if the players want to play for a manager coach, then they can play. And yeah, that's definitely we're in a minute. You see, there we're going to get it up, but look, 19% possession and win must be the lowest in the Championship this season. It just shows.
On that though, and again, we've all seen the game, we've seen the highlights, the stats, this, that, and the other. Russell Martin, who obviously is just an absolute dickhead, come out and said that they had 4 or 5 big chances. I don't think so. I don't think so. They scored their goal. There was 2 chances in the second half that I would consider big chances, and Tanganga cleared one off the line. They had a lot of the ball, and they had 700 passes or whatever it was. But when you're just passing it between your centre halves and your midfielders, and you're not actually getting there with it, I couldn't care less. There was times, and we all sit there watching the clock go down, thinking, "Oh, come on, time's going so slow." But there were phases of the game where they just didn't do anything. They you can have all the pretty football you like, as we've found out under Joe Edwards. We try to play better football. It doesn't bring results. You got to do something with it at the end of it.
Yeah, and it's a typical Harris way of playing. Harris said in his post-match that we knew Southampton were going to have the ball. They like to have the ball. They're at home, and we come with a game plan. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew how we could hurt them, and it was all about resolute defending, keeping our shape, and hitting them in the mouth where it hurts. And we did that. The set pieces were whipped in. We spoke about the set pieces, whipped onto the penalty spot. There was in-swinging corners. We was attacking from the edge of the box. It was very Harris type in terms of teams will have to come and beat us. We're not going to outplay teams. Harris knows that. And I think that is the biggest thing with how we won that game is Harris knows we're not going to go into these games and go toe-to-toe. We probably won't on Saturday, but teams will have to come and beat us. And everyone out there looked like a captain. They was all talking. It was 2 banks of 4. I thought Fleming really surprised and probably shut some people up. He showed a different side to his game, very similar to how we played away at Plymouth, where we was under the cosh for a lot of the game, forced them out wide. The central midfielders were outstanding in forcing them out wide, and we hit them on the break. And it was typical what we expected, what we predicted. And it's Harris ball. It isn't pretty. It's not easy on the eye. It makes the heart rate go because we're constantly attack v defending. But credit to Harris, and even more so credit to the players for how bad it's been, looking like that there's no emotion, that people don't want to be there. Every single one of them, all 11 and the subs, they put in a 150% shift. And I hope Harris give them the day off, because I wouldn't be surprised if there was anything left in the tank. And it was really refreshing to see the fight.
I totally agree with you. I mean, good evening, chaps. Who's Chris, who's in the chat. So
before we go on to some of the players who probably were outstanding, because there's a couple that definitely need some praise, but there's a couple of players that I wanted to talk about first. Zian Fleming is one of them. I thought that, there was something that went up on Twitter that about him not caring. I've given pelters, and I've had to eat a little bit of humble pie over the last couple of weeks, because it's not the Fleming that's maybe running with the ball, having shots on goal, but he did a lot of hard graft, a lot of hard work. He did the dirty side of the game and tracked back. He hurried, he hassled, and he was so deserving of when he was taken off. And I actually thought this helped us. When he was taken off and Longman, the ref made them walk on the other side of the pitch and walk all the way round, and they had to walk right in front of us, and he got the crowd going again. They absolutely deserve applause. And again, one other mention, talking about what we spoke about, Neil Harris, players running through brick walls. players, giving 110%. The two Georges, Saville and Honeyman, in the 94th minute, the pair of them shot down the left-hand side. They looked knackered. They looked absolutely shattered, but they made what, 60, 70-yard run to get into that corner flag to protect what they had. Now, would we have done that? Would they have done that under a different manager? I don't think so. The heart and the desire from players that didn't have particularly, I wouldn't say great games, didn't have bad games, but the hunger and the desire to get that 3 points for their manager and the supporters and themselves, absolutely superb.
Do you know the word I'd use? Sorry, Steve. The word I'd use is disciplined. It was so disciplined. The positioning, the way we set up, it was 2 banks of 5. Everyone stuck to their position. It was really, really well coached. That's more to the point. It was so well coached. Harris on the sideline. There's an image of Harris. I think it might have been you, Steve, or it might have been Joe.
Me.
Or you. Yeah, it was you, Mick. Sorry, yeah. And Harris is on the sideline. He's got his fingers to his head, just telling the players, keep your mentality. Yeah, just keep your mentality. George Honeyman got booked really early on, and I was really scared. I thought, well, that's it. Because he loves a tackle, and I thought he could go. Again, really disciplined. Harris stuck with him, didn't panic, didn't take him off, and made the subs at the right time and made the right subs, more importantly, as well. Harris coached this game.
Can I just say one thing? It wasn't just Harris, though. I mean, Livermore played a blinding game.
I wanted to come on to Livermore as well, because the 2 midfielders that he started, which we will cover, what he's done with them in the previous stint and what he's done in a short space of time to manage that midfield the way he has deserves the utmost credit. And he really does, because he was up there with Harris on the sideline. He was giving out instructions as well. Adam Barrett needs some credit as well, because he's that defensive coach. All 3 of them, they seem to work really well together. Now, Barrett hasn't worked well with others, but they seem to work well together. And it was a really disciplined, really hard-fought performance, and that's all of them.
No, that's it. Stephen, by the way, big lying about your mum, by the way. She said, there, look, she loves me. You see? So.
That's great, brilliant. The thing with that, with Adam Barrett, when the game first started, it looked like he was kind of not reliant on Barrett, but he was going to him and asking the questions, because Barrett had been around the players for long, obviously over the last couple of years. Now, I know Adam Barrett gets a little bit of abuse and people asking why he's still around, but I thought yesterday, especially, he was the link between Harris maybe not knowing what has gone on in previous games or some ideas, let's not make the same mistakes as what we've been doing previously type thing. And the thing with the mentality as well, when Fleming scored the penalty, and I don't know if this would have been picked up on the TV or on the cameras, Harris was screaming at Matty Sarkic, telling him to focus. Like he pulled him over and to talk to him and saying, there was 5 minutes to go to half time, and it was like, get us in at 2-1, make sure we're still ahead. And I just think, we're going to have a reasonably good show tonight, and everyone's in a really good mood, but it doesn't just happen at a click of a fingers. And Harris made the point of saying they only had a day at it, but the way they were drilled and the mentality that they had in just one training session is incredible. And Harris, Livermore, Barrett, and all of the coaching staff deserve all of the credit for that.
Yeah. We spoke about certain managers maybe not having a good reputation or feeling like some players are bigger than them. And we mentioned that no one at that club is bigger than Neil Harris. He has an aura about him. He has a presence. And the players felt that. And he demanded it, and the players delivered it. Now, there was the link with Barrett and some of the players, like Flemings and your Dunois. He doesn't know them, Harris. So, Barrett did his job really well in that continuity sense on the sidelines. But we saw an evolved Neil Harris. We saw the same Harris football that got us into the championship and give us a good first season in the championship. But we saw the management side of it, the talking to the players, keeping them G'd up, keeping them on their toes, keeping the mentality, the right subs. It was just a masterclass. It really was. To go to Southampton, a place that we haven't won for a very long time, where they're reeling, they need to pick up results, and to bottle them the way we did. That small bone in midfield had nothing. He did nothing all game. And it really is such a big testament to the players and to the coaching staff, as you just said. And long may it continue, because the Den is going to be absolutely rocking on Saturday. It really is.
Yep, absolutely.
I think the other thing with that as well is there was a comment on here on Friday, and I don't know who it was. I can't remember. And they'd said, I wasn't sure under Harris, but I bought me Watford ticket anyway. And that's just really where we're at now. There'd have been people at 5 o'clock or 4:45, whatever it was yesterday when the final whistle went, that would have gone onto the website and bought a ticket. They just would have gone and done it. And I think Harris he's not stupid. He knows the score, he knows the scenario, and he knows that he's got to get any ounce of advantage and cut and edge that he can find. And by starting the way he did yesterday and having those players out there putting that level of performance in a game that we're not expected to win, and there is a comment coming up saying it's a shame that the other teams around us won. Just imagine, had we have not won the game yesterday, and coming in off the back of all of those teams winning, to win the game was so important, because other clubs, we're looking at it and we're disappointed that everyone else has won at the bottom. But can you imagine QPR, Stoke and Huddersfield looking at us going to Southampton and winning? They'll be utterly
100%.
demoralised by it. And it's such a big boost to start with a win.
It was never doubted that Harris was going to do something with that team. As much as we were saying, it's a backward step, and we were talking about, progression and all that. But realistically, Harris is like a tin of Ronsil. He does exactly what's on the tin. And I think probably I would say that Harris is a bit like a bottle of red wine. He has matured well with age, the experience and everything else. He seems just to be as much as he was before. He is Neil Harris, and he is fucking a scary bloke you wouldn't want to upset. Look at some of the pictures on the sideline where he's screaming. I mean, there was a lot of shithousery where I can't think who it was who went down, and then he's screaming at Danny Mack to speak to Danny Mack to say, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that he just fed a mentality into the players to go, listen, right, you don't get an easy life here. Everything we do, we earn. And if you want to be part of that, then go out there and prove it. Prove to the fans that you give a fuck, and they will back you. And that's what happened. The players went out and started showing you that actually they gave a shit, and the fans backed them the whole game. Like what we said the other day when I gave that rant the other day at the end of the game. If you go out there and prove yourself, then all the fans will back you. It's when you go out there and just don't really do anything that the fans will get on your shoulders.
He installed belief as well. He's proven that this football, though people may not like it, does work. And in the situation we're in, it can work. He's proven that. He would have told them that. If you just trust me, we can get out of this. You need to believe in yourself as much as I will install it in you. And every single one of them players bought in to what Harris wanted to do. You could see that. None of them were upset about the game plan. They was all talking to each other. The scenes at the end of that game haven't seen that for such a long time. Every single player coming over, their arms around. They look shattered, but they knew how much this game meant to the fans. They knew how much it meant in terms of safety. And it's a massive, massive result. And to get that one over the line, that first win, that big away win, will make the next 12 weeks so much easier, because the belief will be there from the players now. They will look at this and go, we went to Southampton away and beat them. And not just beat them though, Mick, right? But we went 1-0 up. Now, they equalised and we was under the cosh, and no heads dropped. Harris didn't panic, didn't change his game plan, didn't switch it up or make subs. We stayed true to what Harris wanted to do. The players kept the belief, and we got another goal and saw the game out. That was the biggest thing from that.
And he was also telling them, keep your heads up. It's not over. Carry on. Keep going. As in, a lot of the times before, even under Rowett, the players would just drop. And it would it would drop, and then they'd take about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get their heads back, and then they'd step up a gear. But here it was like, that's all right. They've scored. Don't matter. We're going to score another one. And we're going
we
do
had
our
to
best
win that
score
game
it.
twice. We had to win that game twice
Yeah.
on Saturday. We had to reset after they got their goal, deal with the pressure, and we had to go again. We had to score another and then bottle them up again. We had to play 2 games of football in that 90 minutes, and it was really, really hard fought. And I don't think we could praise them till the cows come home, but we won't do it any justice for how well the game was managed, how well the players played.
No,
I think as well.
Hang on, one sec. Andrew Roberts, we'll come back to your comment in a bit, mate. All right.
I think the big thing is about yesterday's performance is that I left the ground and drive home and whatnot, talking about the game. We won't play like that next Saturday. I know for a fact we are not going to play like that next Saturday. Harris is going to play. We'll play that way at Leeds away. Whether or not it works there is a different issue. Leicester at home could be a little bit like it. Again, at homes might change the mentality a little bit. But outside of those 2 fixtures, we won't play with 10 men behind the ball, grafting and fighting for your lives. I think that's the big thing, and I said it off air before we come on. Harris is going to take these games, and we've said it so many times. He's going to take each of them as a cup final, a cup semi-final, and he's going to pick a team on the day to try and beat the team that he's up against. Now, look, I'd love us to win all 12 games that we've got coming up. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but stranger things have happened. But we will have a team that goes out in every fixture, and the tactics that will be deployed will be different to suit the opponent. Will we see? I don't know if we'll see a midfield of Saville and Mitchell every week. You might see it in a few games, but you might not see it. You might not see it next Saturday at all. And I think that's where Harris has probably learned from a manager where, as a manager, he had one plan, didn't he? Really, it was the big man up front, and you either had Morrison to start, Tom Elliott, and then it was changed either or. This time, I think he's probably come back and thought to himself, right, we'll get something at Southampton, and then we'll attack Watford, and we'll get the Den rocking. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, Stephen Bevan, where he's made a comment there, and I thought I'd just do it while I was there before I lose it. He said, I watched Edwards' interviews a few times when he got appointed. I couldn't make my mind up on him at first. However, after a few views, I sensed it was Lampard Mark II. I'll tell you what I thought there is that I thought Edwards would do fairly well, but he was going to need a couple of transfer windows. Unfortunately, didn't get that time. The players, obviously, didn't click. Quite big names with the players, and maybe they just didn't feel comfortable with him or whatever it was, but they didn't seem to team up for him. The difference is that you thought that some of what he was saying was a bit more media PR, as in with Neil's pre-match interview, he knows exactly what he needs to say, doesn't he? He knows exactly what he needs to say to gear you up, and that was it. You just believe every word he tells you. And Edwards, you're left to go like, yeah, listen, you talk a good fight, but unfortunately, is it going to happen?
Well, we agreed.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. I was just going to say, I don't think anybody agrees that Edward was probably the right hire. It was just the wrong time for him. Yeah, like you said, 100%. If he would have been appointed in the summer, he would have had a summer transfer window, installed his game plan, because I'm sure he didn't want to play with 5 at the back. But they're the players that he had at his disposal. That's the system that they had been used to. A Rowett system is more suited to Harris' style of football, especially away from home. So Harris was bound to get better results. But I don't feel bad for Joe Edwards, and I don't mean him any animosity at all. Do you know what I mean? I wish him well, because he probably would have been a very good manager for us. I certainly hoped he would be. But at this moment in time, we need dogs. We do not need trainers, and Harris has installed that in that dressing room.
The only thing I'm a bit weird with is that he's head coach rather than manager. Neil Harris, head coach, just doesn't seem to have the.
I don't care if he wants to be called. If he wants to be called, if it works, it works.
He could be called the fairy godmother if he wants, as long as he keeps us up.
100%. I think yesterday as well, what you just said there, Jay, it's bang on. That group of players and that performance. Gary Rowett would have been proud of it. He would have been proud of a performance like that, and that's all Harris is doing. He's just picking players to play a certain system against a certain team, and he knows that he sent out workmen, players workman-like players that will put a shift in and will give us everything, and that
Well,
sometimes is enough.
Well, that performance, I'll take it back again. I said it in our group, in our pod group chat as well. Is that it was exactly like Plymouth away. It was exactly the same, where Fleming had to do some real hard work leading the line. It was a lot of defending, a lot of backs against the wall, a team who liked to retain possession, and we hit them on the counter. It was exactly like Plymouth away. Harris will just install a mentality of, at home, we will go after you because you're not coming into our place and you're not going to run us over. Gary Rowett, his downfall was, regardless of opposition, we are going to play the same way, the same tactics. It doesn't matter how they set up. This is how we're going to play. Harris will adapt, as you rightly said, Stephen, because he has grown as a manager. We said it on the last pod. He's not going to have left Millwall 4 years ago and come back the same Neil Harris. He's going to have adapted. He understands more than anyone how much the home crowd and playing at the Den means to this football club, because it's where we have our bread and butter. It's what's kept us in leagues. It's what's got us up in leagues. We are not the best away team, so we go away and set up like that and tell teams, have the ball as much as you want. If you can come and beat us, you can have these 3 points. We'll gladly give them to you, but you have got to come and beat us, and you've got to work for it. And at home, like you said earlier, as we started the pod, as you said, rightly so, Stephen, I totally agree with you 100%. We're going to see a different setup on Saturday at Watford, because they are now all of a sudden a wounded animal themselves, and Harris is going to go after them. The Den is going to be rocking, and we are going to see a completely different setup, I believe. Might not see different players as such. I don't think we'll see wholesale changes, but we're not going to sit back and let them come after us at home. Harris doesn't do that.
No, there's been a few comments, and the last one that I think you're just about to click to, Mickey, is from Connor. Lads, who was your man of the match? One player that I think, for me, was head and shoulders above everybody else, and that's saying something, was Japhet Tanganga. I mean, we've hammered him. I've hammered him. The pod's hammered him. The chat have hammered him. He has been absolutely battered on social media. And don't get me wrong, under Joe Edwards, he did make mistakes and probably deserved a little bit of the criticism. Yesterday, we saw the player that had played in the Champions League for Spurs.
Add your player in the comments, mate. Who do you think was man of the match yesterday? Get them in the comments. Let's go. Let's drive the comments, man. Go on.
I would say... Sorry, Jade, before I lose my train of thought, Leonard was very, very good as well, and I will come on to him. But the header was brave for a lone player, which you always get, they don't care, that usually bottle out of things like that, was brave. His header off the line, which was arguably just as important as a goal. They are when they save you goals. Absolutely excellent. And just his all-round play, he just looked so much better playing in the back four. And knowing what his task was. There was one tackle that he mistimed where he absolutely clattered the bloke in the first half and got booked, but he didn't look like getting a second booking whatsoever. He just did his job. And for me, Harris, I think maybe went a little bit over the top in his interview after the game, where he mentioned Paul Robinson and Alan Dunn and Darren Ward, Millwall centre arse. But the point he was trying to make was that when you're brave and you're willing to put your body on the line, that's what Millwall centre halves do, and that's what Tanganga did, and obviously the goal capped it.
No, that's it. Hang on, one sec. Sorry. Let me get some of these comments in for a second. John Parr, look, I don't think everyone's a Harris expert or how he plays or anything else. What we're saying is that he's just come back and just instilled the Millwall mentality to those players, and that game that went out on Saturday was absolutely Millwall shithousery. No matter what's going to happen, we're going to win this. If you score another one and it goes 2-2, we're going to win this 3-2. And if you score another one and it goes 3-3, we're going to win this 4-3. It was just that absolute fuck you Millwall attitude. What was it? And which we knew you'll get from him. We still don't know what his capabilities are as a manager, but what we do know is that it looks as if you instill a bit of that Millwall mentality into the players. They do seem to react to that, and they do seem to take it on board and actually have it.
Yeah, I think Stephen was I can't echo or add on to anything that he just said. I think that what Harris has installed is that if you put your body on the line, good things will come. If you take these risks in the opposing box, good things will come. Tanganga knew he was going to get cleaned out, but he took the risk. It was there and we benefited from it. He got himself in the right position all the time. He was clearing up. He made Cooper look a really competent defender because Cooper
Do you know what,
didn't
though?
really have much to do.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
I can't find anything rattling my brain from watching the game where I can single out something that Cooper did. Now, that's not a disrespect to Cooper because Cooper was part of that back four and he did his job just as much as the rest of them. But Tanganga really installed a lot of confidence in that back four because he was everywhere. He cleared up, he cleared off the line, scored the goal, and it was a perfect performance. And it was a body on the line performance. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look shaky like he did under Edwards, where we tried to play it out from the back, worrying about a mistake or he had to drift wide. It was, I want you to play centre half and I want you to clear up. And that's what they did. And you cannot praise Tanganga enough. He looked absolutely shattered. He took a big knock as well from that hit from the keeper. And maybe under Edwards might have took him off and gone, I don't want to risk it. Harris, you're all right, get yourself back out there. This ain't over. And it was a real...
He didn't even know he'd scored either. If
no,
you see it
no,
back,
yeah,
Obafemi and Fleming were sort of telling him, and like as he was had to walk off because he had treatment, he didn't know where he was. Didn't have a clue. But
he was absolutely fantastic, and he was a compliment to Cooper. I think they played very well together without Cooper really having to stand above the rest. I thought Tanganga really held the line and probably led that back four a little bit more. I thought Leonard really controlled it down that right-hand side, but that gave Tanganga the ability to stay true to his position because Leonard was so good
100%.
at keeping it tight on that right-hand side that he could stay central. He didn't have to mop up after Leonard. 100%. And it was just a really, really good performance from Tanganga. And fair play, man of the match for me too.
100%. I mean, Chris Brown, this is the reaction Edwards had after his first game. Let's see how the team reacts after
that. Is true.
I agree with what you're saying, but I honestly think that the players will be shit scared to fucking lose. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I just think that in such a short amount of time, if Edwards and Livermore and Barrett have managed to inflict this Millwall mentality into him, which, let's be honest, it was as if we fielded 11 different players to the players what played the previous game, which we did speak about, and we will come in and speak about this a little bit further on, is that how the hell is it, why is it if the players performed against Southampton, which we sort of thought they would and hoping they would, and they did, that why weren't they performing like that in the previous 2-3 games, which leaves a lot of questions, as in we were probably right that he'd lost the dressing room and the players probably didn't necessarily have respect for him. Harris comes in with Livermore. You're not really going to question the club's greatest living goal scorer. You're not really going to question a guy who was manager, a guy who left and come back after surgery and basically recaptured what he wanted to do. And that mentality was there hugely. And I honestly think that some of the players will be absolutely shitting a brick if they lose. Come back to there's another good comment there from Andrew Roberts. He says Harris is canny, bigging up Tanganga and comparing him to some of our previous great centre halves. Yeah. That is a confidence building for Tango and great man management. And I think
tactical approach that.
Yeah, and I think if you watch that Sky documentary, what was it? Transfer Day Deadline or Deadline Day, whatever it's called, on Sky. It is on YouTube. It's hard to find, but it is on YouTube. If you watch that, it looks as if I think that's what Tanganga needs. He's one of those what you need to blow smoke up his arse a bit to make him feel that special. And I think that's what he needs. Once you make him feel that, he'll go out there and perform like he did on Saturday.
I think it's one of those, isn't it, where he's come from Spurs, and I know he was out in Germany, but he's come from Spurs, and we all know that Premier League footballers have this kind of aura, don't they, about that the world owes them everything, and they need to be protected, and tackles go in, and they roll around on the floor, big money, all the cliches. I think perhaps Edwards made the right call in going for a player like that. I just think he clearly. For whatever reason, it just took him a little while to settle. He might be fitter now. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think he looked unfit. Maybe perhaps in the first game at QPR when he hadn't played for a while. But certainly coming in and look, lone players. We always talk about, do the lone players care? Are they really that interested? Well, we had 2 out on the pitch to start. In Longman and Tanganga, they were both shattered. Longman walked round past us.
Obafemi as well.
I'm sorry, Obafemi. Yeah, that one I'm not convinced on.
We'll
but
come on to that.
We'll come to that. But Longman, as much as I don't think he had a great game, he still gave us everything. Harris is. It doesn't matter if they're contracted. It doesn't matter if they're Cohen at the end of the season. It don't matter if they're on loan. They bought into it.
He's always had a good response from loanees, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but you still got. But what I'm saying is these same loanees.
If you look at the loanees he's had over his time at Millwall, they've always pretty much performed for him, right? But if you look at the loanees we've had under Rowett and Edwards, both of them couldn't necessarily get a tune out of quite a few of them.
But where you've got to remember. You've got to remember that the loanees that Harris brought in when he was manager were his loanees. These are not his loanees. They're loanees that have been brought in by Gary Rowett and Joe Edwards. So they're not players that Harris might have even identified. He might have wanted them, but he might have thought, we're not going to get them, or they're not going to come to us. So
I think
you got to give him. I think you got to give them the loan. And I thought again. Obviously, Brooke Norton-Cuffy come on again. Didn't set the world alight, but still bought into what he was asked to do down that right hand side. So,
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
The thing is, though, Steve, is that none of these players. We're talking about, how the lone players played really well under Harris yesterday. Some of the players out of contract as well look like they just signed a new contract. But Harris's resume alone is enough to make players turn around and go, I want to play for this guy. This guy knows what it takes to play in this division. He knows what it takes to manage in this division. He knows what it takes to play and manage at this club. I can benefit from Neil Harris. Now, did these players think that about playing under Joe Edwards? Probably not. Resume's pretty short. Good coach, no doubt of that. But Harris has been in the situations on the field, the tough times, the good times from winning. And he's able to have these conversations with an Obafemi who's a striker. And they can have chats about the past and how Harris felt and the mentality it took to get there in the hard times. He can relate, is more to the point, because he's been done it at this level.
Yeah, Gary Johnson's got a thing here where you're talking about Harris and whatnot in his resumes and all this sort of stuff. He says, does anyone else think it was a masterstroke playing Danny Mack left back as their right-sided players were left-footed and kept coming one-sided for Danny Mack to contain them?
Well, I said it in the chat earlier in our chat, and I said that Adozie, who was having a good game, he was bottled by Ryan Leonard. I will do. He was bottled by Ryan Leonard.
Gents. Both of them seem to be they seem to have been having on their caffeine tonight, mate. Fuck me, do you know what I mean?
He was bottled so bad by Ryan Leonard that he switched wings, and he was bottled in the exact same way by Danny Mack. He had nothing. The two fullbacks were so key because they was going wide all the time. Even the commentary made a point of it, of that it's all going down the left, it's all going down the right. They dealt with more than what the centre-backs did or what the midfielders did. Ryan Leonard and Danny Mack had to do so much more than everyone else. While everyone kept the shape and allowed it that Southampton had to do and go down them routes, they was there every chance that Southampton got. Leonard was there, and Danny Mack was there. When you got your wingers having to swap wings and having no success either side, it really was a great performance from both. And fair play to Harris for sticking with it.
100% mindset. Don't forget that if you are watching on YouTube, please make sure, because there's a lot of first timers by the looks of it, or you're watching publicly tonight. Please make sure you tap that subscribe button, and also there is a hell of a lot of you watching on YouTube. I understand if you're watching on Facebook and stuff. If you're on Facebook, please like and share, and obviously if you're on YouTube, please press that like button. Also, if you noticed that Bobby has gone missing again, maybe he felt that I weren't going to interview him last week. We're going to do your show, Bobby. Just get in touch. But you've got my number, mate. You just WhatsApp and we'll organise it. But
yeah. On the subject of Leonard and Danny Mack, both of them were excellent. One-on-one defending is very tricky, because in this division you come up against some outstanding wingers. But Ryan Leonard, I'm going to make a bit of a statement here. If Ryan Leonard stays fit for at least 6 or 7 of the remaining fixtures under Neil Harris, he will win Player of the Season. Hands down, he'll win Player of the Season. He was good up until his injury. He was really good up until his injury. And no one at Brooke Norton-Cuffy was up with him. He got injured and has kind of gone off the ball a bit. If Leonard stays fit for the majority of these fixtures, he's going to absolutely run away with the vote.
Hang on. Troy Parrott weren't Harris, was he?
No, it was he was a
right, yeah. So yeah. I am right then. Do you know what I mean?
What I liked about Leonard as well is, and with Saville and Honeyman, is the shithousery had made its way back to Millwall. Now that corner scenario, we held it down there for 3 or 4 minutes. That's all Neil Harris. Yeah, he was 100%. The master at 100%. Feeling a little knock in the back, coming down in the corner, wasting a minute. With the throw-ins, every single throw-in, Leonard was walking really slowly, weren't picking the ball up, waiting for the ball boy to give him the ball.
Even when he took the ball
off under his shirt. When he took the ball to him, and then there was a little bit of shithousery where Russell Martin's complaining about how far Leonard's going forward, and then Leonard, as he took the throw, ran straight in front of Russell Martin and threw it. It was just...
He's reporting this, isn't he?
Yeah, it was just Russell so Martin's perfect.
Reporting this for dangerous tackles.
Yeah, because he's a massive prick, and at the end of the game, he didn't shake Sarkic's hand. It was just the fact that Neil Harris and Millwall, we got into his head so bad to the point where 100%. He's been crying. Saints fans have been in full meltdown mode on the internet. Like, we have caused a complete and utter meltdown in Southampton this week.
Also, before we move on, just a second,
Nicky's rant has probably woken a couple of them up too. Yeah, I reckon it probably did. I hope so.
Before we move on to any other players, just one more thing on Ryan Leonard that I think would have gone unnoticed, but I made sure I wanted to get this in this section. Our second goal actually comes from Ryan Leonard not giving up that overhit cross, because Longman puts it over the top, it goes too far, and Leonard beats whoever it is to the ball, goes past him and gets the ball across. Those little things, that little bit of desire to not let the ball go out of play, to keep on the attack, because we knew he wasn't going to have that many attacks, and Leonard must have read the situation, kept the ball in. Look, he's not the best player we've ever had, but but he is certainly one that if he wasn't so injury prone, he would have been a top player for this club. May have gone on to better things, but keep him fit. He runs away with Player of the Season.
100%. I think that point you just made, sorry, Mick, about Leonard not giving up. There was a bit where Bradshaw, late on in the game as well, the ball looks like it's going out for a goal kick, and he's chased it down. Everyone's left it, and he just slotted it to the side out for a throw-in right next to the corner flag, which got us up the field. And that the shithousery, but not shithousery to the point where it's disrespectful, it's muggy. It's
clever.
Harris type of way, clever, tactical play was all over the field.
Let's get through some of these. Let's get through some of these star comments while I've got a chance to speak under you two. I don't know what the fuck's happened tonight, but you two have fucking got to have a coffee ban before coming on this show, mate. Fucking Red Bull. There we go. You two are banned from Red Bull.
Mate, you need to keep just putting the comments up as we're going.
Fucking but there is some where I need you both to shut the fuck up, so that actually these are talking points, what I want to do with them, but it's just fucking aggro. But hang on, right. So Chaps put something in about fucking 4 weeks ago and said a 55% increase in defensive actions versus Sheffield Wednesday says it all. Structured, planned and executed superbly. Andrew Roberts come up with another one which said, do you think Harris will play Mayer at some point? Danny did well on the left, but sometimes he had to stop to bring the ball into his right foot. Mayer wouldn't have that problem and also has the pace.
I don't think we can. I was going to say, I don't think that we can really make them sort of assumptions on Mayer yet. Mayer didn't even make the squad for whatever reason that is, you know. And I'm sure we will see it. Shout out to Chaps, by the way, as well. If you didn't check out his pre-recorded live earlier, go give it a.
I think he's gone now.
Well, is he gone?
It's all right.
I was giving him
comments at the beginning, and I was putting them up, and you lot just wouldn't shut up. So it was hard work.
But yeah, go check that out if you haven't, because it's a real good listen. But yeah, I don't think we can comment on Mayer yet, and we won't trash him and we won't big him up, because we get to see what he's firstly his position under a Harris regime.
You say he hasn't done anything. I mean, there's C Tobes FPL line. Matured, he hasn't done anything in his time away from the club. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yesterday was a lucky win. He may keep us up, but then what? Square one. Didn't he get Cardiff to the playoffs? And weren't he fourth with Gillingham when he got fired over when the other fella brought in someone else? So I wouldn't say he's necessarily done nothing.
All the fans of the clubs that he's left previously, Gillingham and most recently Cambridge, their fans have been livid. They really didn't want him to go because he turned corners with them clubs. He was doing really well with Cambridge. He got them out of a tough situation, and they're really upset that he left. We don't expect Harris to be this Jose Mourinho 2.0 from being away from us for 4 years, but there's no doubting Harris has learned a lot along the way, and he's refined himself as a manager. His game management and his substitutions on Saturday were perfect, and you could see he'd grown as a manager. We criticised him in his previous stint for making subs too late, maybe not changing the game plan up. And I know it's only been one game, but we will see it again on Saturday.
No, that's it. Stephen,
I've got no doubts about that.
No, that's it. David Squire says, Stephen, what do you think of Mitchell now, Stephen? Because in previous shows, you don't think Mitchell is not one of our. You don't think Mitchell is one of our best players, best midfielders.
I'm going to defend Stephen here because I thought Stephen actually bigged him up on the last pod. To be honest, I thought he'd give him I thought he weren't. He didn't slander him, that's for sure. But I've got some things to say about Mitchell.
He has on previous shows. That's where David's. I think that's where David's coming from. Is that he has on previous shows.
Corrected.
Yeah. So Stephen,
but he's still not. He's still not one of our best midfielders. Let's just put that out there. He had a very, very good game, and I'm sure Jay will cover this point a lot better than me because he was bigging him up to play in the game yesterday. However, he was excellent. He epitomised everything that you'd want from a Millwall player under Neil Harris. I think you might see a lot more of him, and he does need to add more to his game, but can't fault him from yesterday. And if we're gonna play against those big teams, and you're gonna need grafters, then Billy Mitchell will need to play in those games. If you're playing teams like Rotherham, where you need to be a bit expansive and create chances, I don't think he's the right midfielder, but that will come as and when we're playing against certain opposition. But I will pass this on to Jay.
I'm now going to back onto that because there's no doubt that Casper Denore is a better player than Billy Mitchell. There's no doubt that if Ryan Leonard plays centre midfield, he would be a better player than Billy Mitchell. The fact that I try to make a point of is that Billy Mitchell is severely underrated for certain things that we want to do. Now, Mitchell yesterday was absolutely outstanding because he's off the ball work. And when he got on the ball, he broke the play up. He stretched it. He won 3 kicks. Mitchell did what Harris wants him to do. And that was the point that I tried to make on the last pod, that I think Mitchell is severely underrated in this system, in what we want to do under Neil Harris. Now, Casper Denore is such a better technical player. And as Stephen said, you go to Rotherham away and you want to go after teams, you want someone like Casper in there. But when you need off the ball work and you need discipline, positional awareness, and you need someone to do the hard job, the stuff that no one else wants to do, Billy Mitchell is up for that. And like I said, he will be a big, big feature in Harris's team in these last 12 weeks. And after yesterday, absolutely justified, because for me, he was one of the best players on the pitch. Him and George Saville in midfield, I thought they held that central midfield so well. They were disciplined. They kept their positional shape, which forced Southampton wide. And when their chances came, they were committed with it, and they got us up the field. That's not to say that Billy Mitchell is a bad player either. Not saying that he's not the best player, but he is underrated. Billy Mitchell is not a bad footballer. It's the certain systems that you put him in make him a better fit than other players that we got. I don't think Casper Denore could have played 90 minutes and done what Billy Mitchell did yesterday. You can slander me in the chat for that as much as you want, and I'll take it. But I don't think Casper Denore could have done that. Now, you want to attack teams like Watford on Saturday at home, you might well see Casper Denore, and he will do a very good job in the situation that Harris will put us in to go and attack teams. But when you need to sit away from home and you need to stick 10 men behind the ball and say, come and beat us, there isn't anybody better other than Saville and Mitchell in that midfield. And it was proven yesterday. You're going to see Mitchell away from home, and you'll probably see Casper Denore at home. It's going to be, as Stephen said, different setups for the opponent, for different styles of play, for playing at home, for playing it away. It's going to be different. The mentality, the way we want to play won't change, but personnel will, based on how we want to play. But Billy Mitchell has got a massive, massive part to play in this, and I feel some vindication that Billy Mitchell didn't fall on his arse and didn't make me look stupid, because he deserves all the credit from yesterday. We have to give credit where it's due. Adam Barrett took slander. Tanganga took slander. Sarkic, who we'll come on to, took slander. Cooper did. But they all deserve the utmost credit for yesterday, because every single one of them put a 10 out of 10 in terms of effort, not just performance.
100%. And Dan Riggs, I totally believe you. I totally agree with you, mate. I do honestly believe that Jay and Stephen have been to Joe and got some of his spice, mate, because it's, mate, you do not know how unbelievable hard work tonight has been. And it's not normally, Stephen is not normally like this. So, yeah, fuck me. If
we've won a game, mate. We've actually won a game. So
sets these two off, and so this is going to be exhausting before now and the rest of the season, mate. I think.
But I just want to know. So we've had Stephen's thoughts on Mitchell and my thoughts. What's your thoughts then, Mick, on Mitchell? On Mitchell's performance, because you haven't really said much about Mitchell.
I think Mitchell is solid. I think the problem is it's the same with Danny Mack, is that if they play him slightly out or dependent or want them to do things what they're not necessarily overconfident doing, then you don't get a good, tune out of both of them. But once you play them in a position where they're comfortable and give them a game plan, what they're comfortable with, they smash it out of the park all the time. Billy is good as gold, but we get so much shit sideways, Billy, this, that, and the other. But
he's limited. There's no getting away from that. I understand that. Everyone understands that. Harris understands that. Billy Mitchell is limited in what he can do, but what he
he's
can
not going to
do.
be in the Premiership, is he?
No, exactly. But what he can do, he's very good at. Billy Mitchell's still only 22 years old. He's still a kid. He's still developing as far as I'm concerned in football terms. He's still developing. And Harris seems to, like he did last time, he gave him his shot last time, seems to get the best out of these type of players that may not be the best technically, may not set the world alight with skills or 40-yard passes, but they're really, really good at doing the stuff that no one else wants to do. Jimmy Abdou was very, very good at it. Lee Gregory was fantastic off the ball. He made Premier League runs off the ball. Like, there's certain players that Harris really, really can get a tune out of, because they are basic footballers, and you give them a basic task of just being positionally sound, disciplined, and just have the fitness levels and the mentality. Harris will get tunes out of you. Other managers can't do that.
Totally agree. So, go on, Stephen, off you go.
I said what I needed to about Billy Mitchell. As I say, he was excellent yesterday, and I can't fault him. And he showed all the spirit of a Millwall midfielder.
Going to Sarkic, I want to touch on the rest of the players. I want to touch on the players. What was the massive, apart from Harris, but the change. But I mean, Sarkic is again a confidence player. I think if he has someone who believes in him, then he'll go out and perform. I mean, I could have quite happily potentially seen that game go. Could have gone and we could have gone a 2-0 possibly on that game. I mean, the save what Sarkic was pulling, he wouldn't have pulled off those saves the game before.
I don't buy into that personally, because I think he's made some good saves since he's been with the club. It's just that he's been overshadowed by the mistakes that he's made. There was a save earlier on in the season, really early on in the season. It might have been Stoke at home who we beat. He made a save right at the end, which was outstanding. Saved a penalty
right
at
on top of
Birmingham.
him. Yeah,
saved a penalty at Birmingham. So I don't buy into that he wouldn't have made those saves a week ago. It's just that I thought he was harshly criticised for the first goal. I get it's close to him, but everyone's taught that at football you head the ball down, and it was right at the floor. I don't think he can be blamed for it. I think it was just a good ball and a good header, and his save in the second half was absolutely superb. We've seen it from him. He just needs to be a bit more consistent. And maybe if he's not going to have his defenders give the ball away and face more and more shots on goal, like what he had done under Joe Edwards and all the pressure that we were building on ourselves, maybe he'll look a little bit better. But maybe he needs to be a bit confident coming for the ball. But in terms of actually making saves, I think he's got it in his locker. We just needed him at the right time yesterday, and we got that.
Yeah, but the week before,
I think you're right.
He could have got his hand to that ball that went in the left-hand corner. He could have pretty much got his hand to it and didn't. But yesterday, he pretty much pulled off the same save and got his hand to it. Yeah, but
every goalkeeper in world football will make a save and then the next week not make a save. I think people have been blinded by the mistakes that he's made. If you look at some of our games and some of the saves he has made in games, they're very, very good. It's just they get overshadowed by when mistakes happen.
You've been slagging him off for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I have, because as I said, the mistakes are leading to goals and they're costing us points. But if you look back, it's not that he's a bad goalkeeper. It's just that when he makes a mistake, it leads to a goal and everyone gets on his back. Yesterday, he didn't really make a mistake for me. And he earned us, well, I don't want to say he won us the game because it was the players in front of him as well. But you can't just say, he doesn't make that save 2 weeks ago, because he has made those saves. It's just when a mistake happens and you're a goalkeeper, you get hammered for it. That's just the way it is.
No, I get that.
I think a lot of it.
Can I just put something in the comment? Please, can people put in the comments if we should ban stimulants for the panel from next show onwards, please. So yeah, carry on. Off you go.
I agree with Steve. I don't think Sarkic is a bad keeper at all. Keepers are very much like strikers. They're confidence built, and if your defence in front of you is playing sound and dealing with everything in front of you, it's less for you to concentrate on, and you can deal with the shots coming in and you can deal with the crosses coming in. But we've been so bad defensively, it's been a whole sale of errors that has led to bad defending and bad goalkeeping. Now, Sarkic has made some great saves in the past. He's made some mistakes. He'll make more great saves and he'll make more mistakes over these next 12 weeks. But yesterday, you saw a lot more confidence in the back four, which allowed Sarkic to be a lot more confident in himself as well, because we defended corners very well. We defended the cross very well. The crosses were coming in for 90 minutes, and that goal that went in for Southampton's equaliser, it was right on top of him. You could argue he should have saved it, and it was a bit tedious, but overall, we won the game, and he made a massive save to keep us with the lead. And that's what games are built on, big moments. He had a big moment, which ultimately helped us retain 3 points and walk away with 3 points. So Sarkic has deserved the slander he's got. He's had a lot of injuries. He's been in and out. He's had some confidence issues. But that's been the whole defence as a whole. And I think yesterday they were a lot more confident in each other. The defenders were a lot more confident in Sarkic. Sarkic was a lot more confident in his defence. And hopefully we'll see a lot more rounded play over the next few weeks.
Yeah. No, look, I agree with that. And pause. Oh God.
Clue only.
Yeah, mate. The amount of comments that are coming in, people texting me going, "Fuck me, mate. You normally go on. You normally talk for everything, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's happened to Stephen tonight. He's normally fairly mild managerial sort of type person, and then tonight it's been thingy. But yeah, hey ho, it's yeah, it's good. Right, before we go on to the players, and I think we will. What can I say? I don't know, mate. I want to address before we go back onto the players and then look ahead going forward. But what is it with this fascination about West Ham? I mean, it was just Chris Brown. I've caught up with the comments of piss off. What is it with this West Ham thing? It's you had
Weird.
people in the Southampton. I mean, they're on our YouTube. There's people in the West Ham showing us West Ham badges. You see them on the footage, and wearing West Ham shirts. I mean, some of those Southampton fans, mate, are more confused than fucking Scooby Doo. Do you know what I mean? It's just fucking what the fuck.
They had a meltdown. They had a meltdown, and they ain't the first team to sing West Ham chants or
and they won't be the last.
No, they won't be the last. And they tried to just rile the away fans up and get under our skin a little bit. If anything, it thrives us on. It makes us be louder. We respond to it in a more positive way. They're just idiots. They think it affects us, but it really doesn't. If anything, it's laughable for us. Do you know what I mean? It's pathetic from their standpoint.
No, that's it. That's it. I'll come back to that in a bit, John. I'll give you a breakdown on that. So yeah. Right then, gents, we're caught up with the chat. So what happened then yesterday with the players yesterday? They looked, like I said earlier, they looked like they were a completely different 11. They just, mate, I've got no idea why for the last 2-3 weeks they looked completely different. I just think they looked as if they couldn't really give a fuck. And then yesterday it looked completely different. Yes, I understand that there is obviously the Harris effect, but there's got to be more to it than that, surely. A lot more to it, isn't there?
I just belief. He's installed belief into these players, and he's got them playing ways that suit them, that suit their skill set, that suit the club. I think that's literally all it is, because it's not. He hasn't been training with them or working on this style, or he hasn't improved the fitness over 2 days. Someone said in the comments about how fit we looked. It's just a mentality and a belief that he's installed over the next couple of days. I think that's all it is, because you believe in yourself, you can do anything, can't you? And he's a great person to install them beliefs in the players that we have at the club. Our mentality from fans and from how we want to see our club perform. I think he's just installed that in them, and it didn't take much. It looked like it didn't take much, but understandably, it looks worlds different from what Edwards and what Raul was installing in the players. Harris is a Millwall man. He just installed a Millwall belief, and the players have bought into it. They've done is bought into what Harris wants.
But why though? Why couldn't they do that on their own before?
I think it's because they were asked. I think it's because they were asked to do something that they knew that they weren't able to do.
Yeah.
And they were constantly being asked to do something they couldn't do. Like if you worked as a bricklayer, and one day you was asked to go and do brain surgery, you'd be way out of you wouldn't have a clue what you're doing. I know they're professional footballers, but certain players play a certain way. You know, none of our players was getting to the Man City team because the quality
none of the players
football.
None of the players yesterday played any real different, apart from they had something about them.
Well, positional was as well.
It's completely. We didn't play anywhere near like we did yesterday in any of the games under Joe Edwards. No. Nothing. Joe Edwards would never, ever. He will never in his managerial career set up a team like Neil Harris did yesterday. Not a chance. It's completely
No.
different, and maybe. And we were saying this, maybe Edwards should have tried to go back to what the players were good at and what made them fairly successful under Gary Rowett. Neil Harris has done it and got a result. It's not, to me, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, a lot of it as well is he's playing people in the positions they're meant to play in. The only one that is probably exempt from that was Danny McNamara, because he played him at left back, although he played it in the week before. But you had Zian in the 10, you had Saville and Billy in that holding midfield role, you had a winger in Longman, played a game, a sole striker, and you had Lenny at right back, which he's thrived very well at, not just as a third centre half with Tanganga and Cooper. You had two centre halves, and they all knew what they had to do in their roles. And it was just simple. It was basic football. It was go out there, defend as a team, have this mentality that we're not going to give up, and ask them to come and beat us. It's just basic football. It was all mentality. It was all mentality and self-belief. Because he was on the sideline installing it for 90 minutes, pointing to his head, telling the players, come on, keep your head up. This game ain't over. We need to keep going. He got them over the line. And that's all it was. It was a pure effort-based result.
Yeah. I just find it, it is a changed mindset, Malcolm. I just think that it's, I'll come back to that one, actually. We'll come to that one first. Is Joe Edwards finished now?
No, I don't.
With a proper men's team. I mean, do you think? I don't think he'd get a championship team, though.
No, but he's going to do what Neil Harris did and drop down the divisions, or Steve Morrison and start in non-league and or down in League Two, and then build himself back up that way and build his career again. He's not finished. No way.
Edwards should go to Cambridge.
Gary Rowett's Gary Rowett's a favourite for that job.
And fair play to him, because Rowett will get another job.
Gary Rowett's favourite for that job.
Well, he'll get another job because he's a good manager. He was a good manager for us. Anyone thinks he wasn't is, he's blinded. He was a good manager for us. Stabilised us.
He's just been a bit of a prick since he's left. With all this gloating and everything else. So
we got fed up with that. We put up with his football because we was getting results. And we was thriving at the top half of the championship and almost made the playoffs. You can play that football when it works. Neil Harris, his style of football yesterday, is going to please us as long as it works. It is when it stops working, that's when we start getting our team foil hats on. We want to see more attacking football. We want to, we're not scoring enough goals, and you start analysing it from a negative point of view rather than the positives that come with playing that style of football. That's all it was with Rowett. It just ran its course. The players were tired of it, and it was time for a change. Not many managers are in a job for as long as Rowett was in. The players change just as much as managers now. You rarely see a manager in charge for longer than 2 years now. If you do, they're very successful football clubs. So we've not really been a club of hiring and firing. We've always been pretty loyal to managers. Over the last few years before Rowett and before Harris, it was a bit of turmoil. And this season it's been a bit of turmoil. But we'll put up with it as long as we're getting the results. Because Rowett was a good manager. He was one of our better managers. But he deserves another job. He will get another job as well, because someone out there will benefit from his style of play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he will to a degree. But I think it's what happens with him over the next 18 months, I suppose, isn't it?
Is he humble enough? That's the thing, isn't it? To drop down.
Yeah, and that's the problem. He is, I don't know, but we'll see. So, let's get through some of these. The monk chant is the best in the world. I think it is. I mean, but it was, someone else said it was allegedly a true part, but it's changed. But it's been around for a while, and I think it was more just it just outpaints the opposition. It's just a very simple drone. And if you read up on the Southampton forums, they fucking hated it. So much so that people were saying it was getting to them really badly. They just hated it, which I think it's great, especially when it keeps going. So, Joe, I'm not putting that comment up, fella. That's not very nice. Can you see the comment, Stephen, from Joe, the second to last one?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Watford, that's a good point there. Watford would suit Rowett after they lose next week, obviously.
Yeah, probably.
Nah, they
But
changed their
any team
manager
looking for
too long.
stability, any team looking for stability to just have the ships to not start sink, to not keep sinking. Sorry, Rowett is a perfect manager for that. He will stabilise any club. He won't take you to the promised land, but he will keep you sure. He will stop the rot, and he'll build you a platform for the future. He done it with us. You know, he was good at Birmingham. Stoke didn't go so well, but you know he's good at these sort of clubs. He will stabilise teams.
But Watford are a club that want to get back into the Premier League. They think they're better than the Championship. So I don't think Rowett's the right man for that.
No, but perhaps then Watford need to change their mentality as well, because it hasn't worked out for them. They've gone through managers like I've gone through Red Bull this evening. You know, so it's they need to change their mentality probably, because they're not a very good outfit at the minute.
I think that falls into a lot of clubs in the division. I think Stoke are a prime example of that. I think Stoke it's an obvious statement they've dropped into the bottom three. They are real trouble, but they believe, because they were in the Premier League 6-7 years ago, whatever it was, that they shouldn't be down the bottom of the league and they should be competing for the top six. And that's what happens. You get swallowed up if you don't get out of it. Yeah.
Poorly run. Sometimes teams as well, they make the jump too early to sack a manager. It is a results-based business, even more so now the last few years. Managers really only get 10 games. If you're not in the positive win column after 10 games, fans want you out. And the fans hold so much now with teams, especially hardened sort of old school clubs like Stoke, like Millwall, like Birmingham City. These old school clubs with proper fans, when they start turning, it turns really, really bad. And managers don't get a lot of time now. Whether that's a good thing or not, you know, it remains to be seen. But it's a results-based business. We all know that. It's happened with us now this season. Joe Edwards, you know, that 7-game losing streak or not winning streak, he fell on the sword for it. Teams have to act not because they want to, but because they have to keep up with the pack.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Completely. Right, just while we've got a break in it, and listen, I don't need to stop you two. Stephen seems to have run out of juice by now. All of a sudden I say, whoa, take a breath. He now seems to be, don't stop. It's just, it's very...
Mate, I'm trying to make your job a little bit easier. You can have a breath. You can get through the comments. I'll make your life a little bit easier, mate.
I was going through the comments, and it's rest easy, fella. So right, we're just going to do this Twitter draw the other day for these bomber comments, and I just thought we'd just do this draw on here. Let me just share the screen. Where are we? We're going to go on to that one now. Do that one, and there we go. Right. 14 people retweeted it, not below, so that's all right, but we still play it by thingy. 10 people will win.
I'm going to be one of the people because I retweeted it to try and get it shared.
So far, there is James Lee, Stuffy69, Chris Brown, Shirley Lumley, Darren Downs, Terry Lyons, Raw79, David Stanley, Mark Barrett, Stephen Jones has won. Andrew Fleming and Ben Webster. Oh no, sorry, Mark Bennett has been rejected because you don't follow. So there you go. So we will.
You can have mine.
Keep that there, and that is it. Reply with winners. Let's have all of them. So that's all done and dusted. There we go.
I think a point that was raised multiple times and we haven't really spoke about him was Michael Obafemi from yesterday's performance. Now, I didn't actually think, and I might get some pelters for this, I don't think he was as bad as what people made him out to be, because I don't think he's the hold up I think he's more of an in behind, running onto a pass to try and get a shot on goal, in and around the box as well. He obviously won us the penalty with the snapshot. I don't think his game suits being back to goal 60 yards from the opposition's goal, and I did feel a little bit sorry for him. There have been reports. There was a comment earlier that his family were in the ground yesterday, most notably his brother, I believe, who had said to some supporters that he had actually been really poorly. The illness was actually true. It wasn't a made up thing. It wasn't that he couldn't be bothered. So maybe there's a case for him to have a little bit more time. But I felt sorry for him. The only thing I didn't like was that he did have a bit of a scrap with, or look, not obviously too much, but with Fleming over the penalty. He wanted the penalty and Fleming told him no, and he got a little bit of the ump with it. But
Fleming argues everyone over penalties, doesn't he?
Yeah, but Fleming's a penalty taker. That to me, that should just, there was an incident the other day, wasn't there, where two players, it might have been Liverpool or Arsenal, they did rock, paper, scissors to decide who was going to take the penalty. And the manager went, I will have a word with them at the end because that's not right. But
Fleming and Nesbitt had a row, didn't they, over it before?
Yeah, Connor's just put a message in. Fleming never missed a penalty. He had one saved this season at West Brom, I believe, in the 0-0. So, I just think Obafemi, I think he'll be okay. He does look a little bit like he's been struggling and perhaps not fully fit. But the big thing at the end of the game, he was one of the players. He was in his tracksuit. He come over, he clapped. He was part of the celebration. So whatever you might think of him and whether he perhaps didn't have a great game, he still was clearly looked like he's bought into the Harris, style of management.
I thought Obafemi played well. I don't think he played bad. I said earlier that if I was to have one sort of criticism of Obafemi, I wanted him to drop a bit deeper, because the one time he did drop deeper and tried to hold the ball up, he won a free kick, which got us up the field. He's got that about him. He's physical, he's strong, he's fast. He is suited better to running onto the ball. But I don't think, as you just said, it was anything to do with mentality or belief in what he's been asked to do. I think it was purely, look, he's not had a pre-season. He's not really featured for us yet either. And not even under Edwards. He had a half hour at Coventry or 45 minutes at Coventry. He's been unwell. So, he does need time to get back. We can't be overly critical of him. I want to see him do a little bit more pressing from the front. I thought he made Fleming do a lot more of the running, and I thought he dropped back a little bit more. Bradshaw's probably better suited to what Harris wants to do on that aspect. And I thought we pressed and pushed Southampton back a little bit more in that second half when he come on. But he probably wasn't very well. He'd been ill all week, and he'd gone out there and give what he had to give for 45 minutes. And like you said, he was over there at the end, clapping the fans. There's a little clip of him from the Millwall media where he's put his thumb up and he's had a cheeky wing. So he was obviously in a good mood, as you would getting a win. So I'm not worried about Obafemi or his performance. But if you wanted to be overly critical, just, drop back a little bit further, try and hold that ball up a bit more, bring us into play. But if that's the only criticism that I can give Obafemi, then he's had a pretty good day. I just think he was unwell.
I actually think with Obafemi as well and Bradshaw, do you think that maybe the plan was all along to get ahead? They didn't get ahead the way that maybe Harris thought. He might have thought Obafemi would get on the end of one chance, take it, and then you bring on Bradshaw in the second half to press and do the kind of donkey work, if you will, the leg work. That was something that I thought may have been the plan. It's just we went ahead a different way. We obviously got the header and then the penalty, and then Bradshaw come on. But no, I think, as I said earlier, Obafemi and Longman were probably two that didn't do an awful lot, but they gave it everything and they did what they were asked to do. And I don't think you can ask for, as you said, you can't ask for much more than that. Really.
No, I mean, Longman, for the same reason as Obafemi, he'd been out, he had that shoulder injury, hadn't played much. He probably has never played in this type of system where it's very physically demanding from a fitness and mentality standpoint. Obafemi probably hasn't either, whereas Bradshaw has. It may well have been a part of the Harris game plan to tire Southampton out, get the lead, and then have some fresh legs, some better pressing, some bit more pace and a bit more physicality from Bradshaw. It could well have been part of the game plan, but I purely think it was just Longman and Obafemi were the right subs to make at the right time, because they probably give us everything that they had, and they'll be better for it next week because they've got 45 under their belt, or Longman had a bit longer. They'll be fitter, another week of training in the Harris regime to build that fitness and that stamina up. And Obafemi's going to play a big part in this because there's a player there. There's definitely a player there. And I think Harris starting him shows that Harris does really want Obafemi to be a part of it. Because if you're looking for press and to stretch it and to stretch the defenders and bring Fleming into play, you want to play Bradshaw all day long. But Harris will probably play them both at the same time at some point. I expect to see some sort of 4-4-2 counter-attacking football out of Harris, maybe at home. So he's got to get these players fit. And the players that are going to play in the 12 weeks, Longman and Obafemi, are probably going to be a big part of that.
So here's one for you. Where do you think Harris will play Amaku?
Striker. He'll play him up front. I think you're right what you said there, Jay, with the two up front. I think you'll see, and there was another point that come up just a minute ago. There was that we've got 3 games in 7 days. I think next week we play Saturday Watford, Tuesday Blackburn, and then wherever we are on the Saturday after. So if you're asking players to play and put in a lot of shift kind of work, you are going to need your squad. And I think Amaku will play as a striker. I really think that Harris will want him on the shoulder of the defenders in that last 20 minutes to try and, and give us an outlet as well. I think that was the other thing yesterday where we didn't have the outlet really with Bradshaw. It didn't quite work, but I think at home you'll see lots of balls in behind for Marku and Obafemi to chase onto.
Yeah, he's going to be an impact player, very much like Aidan O'Brien was to some extent under Harris. He started a lot of games, but Aidan O'Brien was that type of player as well, to bring him on in the front line. He could play across the whole front line, which Imaku can as well. I just don't think away from home especially we'll see a lot of Imaku. It's why we saw George Honeyman on the right-hand side, because you need to be very defensive in midfield in this system, especially from the wingers, to give the fullbacks a lot of cover. Imaku's very much an attacker. I don't think he's got much defending about him, maybe from an experience standpoint, not through wanting to. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll see him play up front, maybe probably better suited in a 2 with a Bradshaw or Obafemi, someone to thread him through, knock it on. Then you sacrifice Fleming for that. Maybe Fleming would be better suited playing with a Marku up top, someone who's a bit bigger, can get the ball down and has got that technical ability to play them sort of passes in. But Marku's going to have a role to play. They all are, because this is a slog. This type of football plays heavily on your fitness. He's going to need everybody. And the fitness levels and the bench that we had on Saturday was definitely encouraging. It seems like we're getting on the healthy side towards the end of the season. Another few weeks might get Hutchinson back. It was good to get Longman back, and Obafemi, like I said, get them 45. Denore coming on as well. He's been out injured, coming on and getting another few minutes. I think we're looking pretty good on that standpoint. So, yeah, Harris is going to involve these players. How and in what sort of situation he will use them, well, time will tell on that. And SA is exactly the same.
I mean, again, Alex S has put, is SA too lightweight for a Harris team? Stephen?
I don't think he's too lightweight, but I think initially Harris knows that he needs to get some results to get the fans buzzing, and we need to pick up some points sooner rather than later. And I don't think he's going to want to put that pressure on Remain SA. I think, touch wood, if we win a couple of games and get ourselves out of this hole and a bit of a gap, I think you might see a little bit more of him, so Harris can have a look at him. Or at the end of games, if you're a couple of goals ahead. I just think right now Harris is going to be picking players based on who he believes can drag us over the line. And I don't think SA's that type of player. He's more of a creative flair type player that you need to be confident or further up the division. I don't always buy into that. 100%, but I think that's what Harris is going to do.
Jonathan Fraser says, I think we're Creswell and Kiefer Moore away from promotion.
Two amazing sides. I don't honestly think, I said it on a pod recently, that if we signed Kiefer Moore in January when we was meant to, I don't think Edwards is probably still around, because we probably pick up a few more results. He's the exact type of striker that we need. It's the exact type of striker that Harris likes to have in his side also. We had it with Matt Smith. We had it with Steve Morrison. That is the perfect striker that I think in the summer we will go after. I think that's going to be a big focal point in getting that target man.
Yeah, getting the target man, but Kiefer Moore, it won't be. I mean, London Lions is the same. I mean, Kiefer Moore's turned us down 4 times. He signed for nil, but he only signed for nil because it was for Cardiff, wasn't it? I think
but Matt Smith, we was after Matt Smith for years before he come to us. I'd like to have got Matt Smith at least 3 years earlier than what we got him. Yeah. You know, we was after him for a few years, and he turned us down and had big moves to Leeds United and so on. So I'm not too worried about whether players turn us down or not. It's when they get here, do they perform like they want to be here? That's the main thing.
What we need
that
is
type of striker.
No, that's it. What we need is someone like Mayo. We need another youngster like Mayo to suddenly become the new Gregory and Morrison.
Yeah, that big man, short man is what we've always been successful with. Harris had it. You know, we had it with Danny Dicchio. You know, we've always had the bigger man up front with the little man to run onto. Gregory and Morrison were very successful in that. Gary Alexander and Neil Harris were very successful in that. So Matt Smith was perfect in that as well. So it's a good thing to have when you need to have a plan B, when you're 1-0 down with a couple minutes to go, like we was, say, at Charlton at home. Matt Smith comes on late, gets that late header. You do need that as a plan B, but we've always had that, and it's a big part of what Harris wants to do and has done in the past. So I think that's a big focal point in the summer. We tried in January, so I think we'll go there again. I think we'll make that a sort of a big focal point. I think along with centre half, as he says there, someone like Creswell.
No, that's it. I mean, Andrew Roberts says, what does Harris do with players like Hutch and Cooper in the summer? Keep them because he knows what he's getting, or get new centre halves and build for the future?
I don't think he really is thinking about that right now. I don't think they are. Millwall have made disappointment to get us over the line. They're not thinking about the summer transfer window. Personally, I don't think having Neil Harris back is going to be a case of all the old boys get a contract. I really don't believe that to be the case. I think he may offer a couple out that Edwards might not have, i.e. Ryan Leonard, George Saville. But I think it'd be a case of, you've been long servants to the club, but now's the time to go, especially with Sean Hutchinson, because he's just not playing enough, which is a shame. It's a shame, but he's just not playing enough.
I totally understand that completely. Well, gents, we've been going for about half hour or so now. We've been going for near enough an hour and a half.
Sorry, Mick, just before there's one more comment coming, which is really important. Harris got rid of Dunn and Ford, so I think we'll see a few go. He has done that. He did that in the past. Alan Dunn had been at the club for 16 years. He'd played with Harris, good friends, and unfortunately he had to show him the door. So I don't think people are just assuming and reading too much into the old boys thing. I don't think it'd be a case of they all stay. I really don't.
No, I don't.
I don't think the club will be in a financial position to be able to do that either, especially if we go down. If we stay up, you might get some team-friendly deals from some of these players, which might make sense, and more so if we went down, But if we stay up, we need to look past that, and we need to get younger. We need to get faster and fitter at the back, especially at the back. So I think the club knows that. I think Harris knows that. But I totally believe in what Harris said, that he's not thinking of the summer. The club aren't thinking of the summer. The appointment was made not based on style of play, on situational play and, this attacking football. It was not based around that. This was purely, we're going to war for 13 weeks. Who is the best person we know that we can trust to get everything out of these players that will fight to the end? And that was why Harris was appointed. It was nothing to do with football.
I think in 18 months' time, as Sir Winston's there saying, will be sacked by Steve Morrison will be sacked by the summer. Harry convinces him to come out of retirement. I don't think he'll be coming out of retirement and playing because he just hasn't got the legs. But I wouldn't bet against in 18 months or so's time that potentially he will be the man to replace Harris as Millwall manager. I think he
possibly
would probably be the player to replace Edwards, who was here in time. But I think that he needs to get the experience, and I think he will be in a manager role.
The thing that scares me with Steve Morrison, the thing that scares me with him is his arrogance. The way he comes across sometimes is very alienating. He did alienate the fans a little bit at times. You know, when the fans wrongfully ran on the pitch at Bradford, you know, he was a bit, you know, he sort of went after us a little bit.
No, I think that was a masterstroke, because what he did is that the press were going to, with that, because again, it was a period where I was obviously fairly close to the club, but I don't like talking about it, so I'm not going to, you know, say too much on that. But he was, that was a masterstroke, because the press were going to run with that, and the fact that he just said it, and all of a sudden it was all about him and his comment, rather than the media being able to turn it. It just turned it. And he's a clever, media-wise, he's quite switched on. I mean,
I've got no doubt he probably is. And he may have had his own narrative for why he said that. I just think that he is quite an arrogant bloke. I don't think he'll always say the things that, like Harris says. Harris is very upbeat and leads from the front and, you know, gets everyone on side. I think Morrison will cause some disruption with the fans, and I think he will be very arrogant with his management style. And if we start questioning him, I think he's the type to blow off a little bit, you know. And
I get that. I mean, Justin Peach made me laugh earlier on Twitter. Justin Peach is one half of second tier football, but he wasn't brave enough to post it on the second tier football Twitter account, so he posted it on his own, calling Steve Morrison a cock. And I retweeted, I replied back to it and said, yeah, you wouldn't fucking dare say that to his face. But
no one would.
It was about a Millwall interview. It was about Millwall. It was about an interview. And the journalist was asking the questions, didn't really seem to know what he was talking about. And
over a penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Steve Morrison will just rip you apart. You know, he'll just be like, the fuck you on about? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And he did. And that don't make him a cock. That just makes him, you know, at the end of the day, he just doesn't put up with fucking idiots. So I thought it was quite funny, to be fair. So, yeah.
Look, everyone's got to learn their trade, didn't they? And Sutton, he might not be doing very well with Sutton, but he's got to learn his trade. He's got to learn from his mistakes, as Harris would have done. Edwards will from Millwall. Yeah. You know, Edwards will learn from his stint at Millwall. Yeah, Rowett did. All managers do. I've got no doubt, like you, Mickey, that he probably will end up in the hot seat at Millwall in the future in some capacity, probably as the manager. I don't think that will be in the near future, personally. I do think the club still want to go down the Joe Edwards type route in terms of bringing the club into the modern game. I do think that's the direction the club still want to go. But in the meantime, we can't think like that. That's too far down the road. Although only 13 weeks down the road, 12 weeks down the road, is still long enough down the road where we just got to focus on the now. And that's what the club have done. That's what Harris is going to do. And as fans, that's what we've got to do, because we don't know what's going to happen in 12 weeks.
No, that's it. Completely and utterly. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done, gents. Final words, Stephen?
It's been nice to be able to do a show for the first time in 7 weeks that we've actually won a game. So maybe if we don't win next week, it might be a little less wordy. But it's nice to celebrate a win.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree with that to the part. But yeah, no, that's fine. Jay, any final words, fella?
Yeah, look, we've all got our opinions. You know, this is what this show's about. You know, we debate. We're not always right. We don't always agree, but we need to stick together. We've got 12 weeks left. We need to pack the den on Saturday. We need to make it fucking horrible. We need to get behind Harris, whatever your thoughts are on him. Get behind the players. They've shown that they're ready to fight for us. So let's show that we're ready to fight with them to the end. We've got 12 weeks. Let's get it. Let's stay up and stay together.
No, that's it. Fuck off, Malcolm. More comments quick. No, shut up. So, yeah.
Let 'em come, let 'em come, let 'em come. Let 'em all come down to the deck. Let 'em come,
That's it then for another show. We'll be back with a pre-record probably this week before our game against Watford. And if you've not checked it out yet, check out Chat with Chaps, which is on our YouTube channel now. It'll be out as a podcast on Tuesday. This show will be out tomorrow, split over 2 on tomorrow morning. If you want these as a podcast and listen back, then you can listen to that in the morning. And that's pretty much it for another week. We'll be back next Friday at 8 o'clock. I'm already getting on the phone now to the Colombian to keep up with these two. So we'll be having it next weekend. So I will no doubt leave you with our new intro. And thanks very much for joining us.
Has scored the goal that could well send Millwall to Wembley.
Will it be Arsenal? Will it be Spurs? Here's what she says to me.
Welcome, Millwall fans. It's now 9 p.m. For the next 90 minutes, this is your fully interactive Millwall fan show. We analyse the matches, wins, losses. We feel it all together. That Sunday Night Live is your show. We're the panel that speaks the truth. Opinions blaze, debates ignite. This is that Millwall podcast.
Giddy up and get away. Oh, we're going Millwall. How you going today? Here we go. We're rocking all over the day. And I like it, I like it, I like it.